$2 million. Man is getting $2 million. He was shot by the cops. He had no gun. He was simply carrying his cell phone. All right, let's go to the graphic. Unarmed black man shot by Los Angeles cops. Wild West style after they mistook his cell phone for a gun. Awarded over $2 million in damages. I'm going to give you the background. This actually took place January 11, 2018. Multiple officers from the Los Angeles Police Department fired at Mr. Dexter Hubert White, a black male. Lawsuit said that White, who was unarmed, was shot multiple times by the defendants. He told the Los Angeles Times that he is still struggling physically. He is traumatized and suffering from anxiety years later. I can only imagine. The day the incident happened, Mr. White visited his music manager's residence in the city, but left after a verbal dispute, according to court records obtained by the Atlanta Black Star. Police responded to the scene after a 911 call and asked the manager if White had a knife. They reportedly told him no. Minutes later, when White returned, he returned to the area near 40th Place and Walton Avenue. He was approached by two cops, one being Aquino. Upon information and belief, Officer Quinata, realizing that White did not have a weapon and was not a danger to anyone, approached White, the lawsuit said. Within seconds of the interaction, two other patrol vehicles arrived on the scene. Within seconds, including officers Sarmiento and Aquino. The officers exited their vehicles with guns already drawn and began shooting within less than 5 seconds of parking their vehicles. The lawsuit said that White, who was unarmed, was shot multiple times by the defendants. According to a 2018 press release from the department, White, quote, produced an object the officers believed was a handgun, end quote. He told the Los Angeles Times that he was still struggling physically, is traumatized, has anxiety years later. Even putting on socks is hard, he reportedly said. The outlet reported that a federal jury awarded White $2.35 million in August because Officer Sarmiento violated his rights. So the attorney who represented White argued that he was not aggressive, did not threaten the officers during the confrontation, according to the report, adding that his client was in fear after being met with officers holding their weapons. The incident has not only been difficult for him, but also for his children. They don't want him to leave home because they don't want anything to happen to him, his aunt told the Times. They are also traumatized. 5 years later, he finally received his settlement or his verdict. Now, this is the thing. His life is forever restricted, okay? Something as simple as putting on socks is difficult for him to do. Not even talking about, not even highlighting the mental dynamics and how extreme they are when you go through something like this. But let's look at what could have happened and what happens many times. Easily, this man could be dead. Mr. White could be dead. He could be 6 feet under. And all of the officers put on their report, oh, well, I thought the cell phone was a gun. And guess what? According to the Supreme Court, that's enough. As long as the officers had a subjective, not objective, but subjective fear of their safety, they can kill you. End of story. And without Mr. White being alive to tell his side of the story and to receive at least some level of justice, there is no civil suit filed. There is no money allocated, and there is complete justification for what these cops tried to do. All right, Senator, thoughts here.
I mean, he deserves more money. First off, because when I'm thinking about the legal fees, minus all coming off of that $2 million, and also Mr. White told, in the report, made it known that he was using the money to pay off his medical debt, which he shouldn't have to tell anybody what he using the money for, but obviously he has hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical debt. By the time he get done paying up all that, he really has nothing. Definitely worth more than $2 million. The trauma that he is enduring will endure for the rest of his life, the trauma of his family. And then like what really, I need somebody at that department to riddle me this. I mean, you come on a scene and you start shooting within 5 seconds of being on the scene. Like, you talk a lot about policy. You know, who is that within the policy procedures of the department? It's just that alone. Not even giving the person the benefit of the doubt. There was already other officers on the scene. This just makes no sense. It reminds me of Adalo? I might be mispronouncing his name, but it happened in New York. This was a very long time ago. And also, more poignantly, it reminds me of what happened to Tamir Rice in some case where the law enforcement is at the playground playing. And they 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds of hitting the scene, took out the gun and killed that little boy.
Yeah, and I remember even the 911 operator was told by the person that called, it could be a toy.
Could be a toy. It's a little boy.
That's right. It's a child, could be a toy.
Yeah, it was at a rec center too. I want to remind people who might not know that story. And of course, somebody got an object and people nervous. The caller, I listened to the call. He was very calm about it, and he said, "Hey, I don't know. Some people are scared, but it might be a toy."
Yep.
Supposed to give people the benefit of doubt. I thought you don't come out with guns blazing and then just start shooting people. I mean, that's what I thought, Doc. But I might be wrong.
And that's the reason officers have tactical training. They have a vehicle to protect them. They have body gear to protect them, and they have opportunity to surveil the area before engagement. You have all of those tools for the sake of one thing: protecting the life of the innocent. And when you do not employ those tools, you should be held accountable, if not intentional, at least by way of negligence. Gross negligence is criminal as well. You should be held accountable through criminal penalty. That's my opinion.